It's a great day to be a Texan. And it's a great day to be an Aggie. Woo! Any Longhorns here? None at all. Perfect. Now, I was actually going to talk a little trash about A&M because there's nothing more annoying than a self-righteous Aggie. It's part of our charm. But as I was preparing my remarks, and I'm so grateful for Joe Poyman inviting me here, I realized, that we lost to Arkansas. Yeah. I mean, bad. But y'all lost to Arkansas, Texas. And so I was like, perfect. They got murdered. Well, of course, beat Arkansas. I mean, they marry their cousins. We should be able to manage that. Is this being recorded? We need to delete that. I'm actually speaking in Little Rock in 3 weeks. Don't put that on the internet. So I wanted to just ask for sort of a philosophical question, I guess, because this is so key. 2020 was a bad year, not the worst year. We'll talk about that in a minute. But 2021 has not really been much better. But with the chaos of 2020 in Austin, with the chaos over the last couple of years, I just want to pose a question. Is keeping Austin weird working? Should we not look and perhaps look to make Austin a little normal? Please clap. I'm honored to be here. It's honored to be here with Joe Poyman. I've known him a very, very long time. He literally left his job at the University of Texas to start this great organization. And look at 33 years now later, Texas is leading the pro-life movement, not only of the United States, but of the world, and we should be proud of it. Because as bad as 2020 was, I think that 2019 was worse. Because 2019 changed what it meant to be an American. We first changed what it meant to be an American in 1973, when our Supreme Court, people we don't vote on, decided to change what it means to be in America by once again dehumanizing an entire segment of our population. They did it the first time with Dred Scott, and this time it wasn't because of the color of their skin, it was because of their size and location that they dehumanized the unborn in 1973. One of the reasons that Sandra Day O'Connor, not a pro-lifer, said that Roe v. Wade is on a collision course with itself. And we're seeing that now. Because in order to be open-minded and tolerant of abortion or support abortion, you must live in 1973 science. You have to be a science denier. And that is why we see the opposition getting louder. They're in a very difficult position. The president of NARAL resigned in 2010, and she did an interview. She shouldn't have done it, but I was glad she did it. I put it in one of my books because it's so telling and should give us so much hope. She happened to be in D.C. the night of the March for Life, the night before, so when she went out the next morning, she saw 250,000 people marching, led by the wonderful post-abortive women who courageously share their testimony at the end in front of the Supreme Court. And she saw all the young people. In her own words, my mouth hit the floor and I said, but they're all so young. And she resigned, citing her inability to get young people to support abortion, which is a pretty impossible job because young people exist today and can march for any cause they want because they weren't aborted. Isn't that amazing? So when they see their nephew or their niece ultrasound, or for the Generation Z, their own ultrasound as they get older, they realize that they escaped abortion. And so science has won over so many people. And our movement's not a bunch of self-righteous Christians trying to force our religion on everybody else. The New York Times believes that, but they believe a lot of stuff. It's quite the opposite. We don't have an ivory tower distant relationship with abortion. Our movement is led by those women who have had an abortion, who have laid on that table, doctors who have done abortions, like Dr. Haywood Robinson, who works for 40 Days for Life now, Sue Thayer, Abby Johnson, those managers of Planned Parenthoods. We're not removed from the issue. Many people genuinely supported a woman's right to choose and don't any longer, and that makes us a movement of converts. And a movement of converts is always a movement of hope. And in 2019, Governor Cuomo decided he would take advantage of what Roe v. Wade allows, which is abortion through all 40 weeks. And he didn't reluctantly come out, like Bill Clinton when he was a pro-life governor and he was running for president. He came out with Hillary there and he said, this is tough. And, in his genius said, I don't like abortion, but I want it to be safe, legal, and rare. It's pretty smooth. They didn't call him Slick Willie for nothing. What a joke that is. That's gone. Now we have shout your abortion and infanticide. Safe, legal, and rare. And Governor Cuomo took advantage of that, and he didn't reluctantly come out. He didn't come out and say, this is tough, but Roe v. Wade allows this through 40 weeks, which it does, which puts the United States in the shameful small category with only North Korea, China, Canada, and Vietnam. That's our category. We don't want to be anywhere with China or North Korea. But we are legally. If France or Italy came and joined the United States tomorrow, it'd be the most conservative pro-life state. It's 12 weeks, besides, of course, us now. That's very eye-opening for us. But of course, we're not lunatics. We're Americans. We're not aborting a baby at 40 weeks, the day before birth, 39 weeks. But what happened is, when you dehumanize a group of people, they're easier to kill. And you put yourself in a very difficult position, which Roe v. Wade did, to where we've all been playing God and deciding these last 48 years when we're comfortable with an abortion taking place. When can we, as Americans, sleep at night and an abortion go on? So most places said, 12 weeks or 16 weeks or 22 weeks or viability, but they changed viability from 25 weeks to 23 and then to 22. And so are you not viable 21 weeks and 6 days? And we become schizophrenic. Because at the same time, miraculously, we can do surgery on an unborn child. We can do a lot. We won't let a woman who's pregnant get on a roller coaster. We won't serve her 10 whiskeys. I guess Austin, they know what whiskey is. We take care of the unborn. Otherwise, we need to apologize for Scott Peterson because he's in prison for double murder, second-degree murder for his unborn child. I mean, why didn't Cuomo go bail him out? He was too busy bailing himself out. But that, when we had a year of infanticide in 2019, which became an era of infanticide now, this is good for the pro-life movement because they've lost their minds. And they had no chance of not eventually losing their minds when Roe v. Wade legalized this barbaric surgery that we would not wish upon our greatest enemy. It was and is on a collision course with itself. Praise God for the 3,000 pregnancy resource centers across our country that now outnumber abortion providers 5-1. What 2019 did with regards to this issue, which is the greatest issue of our time and will be until it ends, is it took the temperature of America. Cuomo lights up the Empire State Building. Governor Northam, with his creepy accent, describes infanticide on the radio. Who's the producer of that show? Calmly, without struggle, we can leave a baby girl on the table to suffocate. Now, I have 8 kids. They're all waiting out in my car. I gotta wrap up. I have 8 children. And there were 8 at breakfast this morning. And people always ask, like, gosh, you got 8 kids. You know, that's a lot of kids. And over time, I've realized that that's true. So we count. We don't use leashes, but we're not totally opposed to it. And every birth is awesome. It's not like your first one's your best, even though my oldest daughter's here. Your first one's not the best, it's just the first time. Every single time your baby is born, there's nothing like looking into your baby boy or your baby girl's eyes. This is the best part. Who could possibly walk away from this vulnerable child if he or she commits the sin of surviving the abortion? Only surgery you're not supposed to survive. We cut and tear to heal, and we can do it better than any country in the world. On all surgeries, except for one. Except for one. And when you look at your baby for the first time, there's absolutely nothing like it. And when you go to all the doctor's appointments, you know, when we had Bridget, my oldest, I went to all the doctor's appointments, and you're driving slow in the car, and Mary Lisa was pregnant, and every single time I was there. And then we did this trend, we've done it a couple times, where we have a baby every year. It's like Christmas. And, you know, by the 3rd or 4th kid, Mary Lisa's like, no, you're really helpful and supportive, but I don't need you to come because you're not that helpful. But there's one appointment you always go to. There's one appointment always go to, and how significant is it for us in the great state of Texas? You go when they will detect the heartbeat. The heartbeat. That's the best one, and a tragedy if you don't detect it. This is why Texas is the only sane one in the sane asylum. Heartbeats, follow me on this, are good. Most people want their heart to keep beating. We're there for the heartbeat. You hear your kid's heartbeat. It's not the worst time of your life. It's the best time. It is the best. It's that first interaction with that baby when you hear the heartbeat. It is awesome. And because of our great state, we have created a scenario in our current culture where somebody can go on television and somehow be deemed courageous for advocating that we stop heartbeats of babies. And they dare call us the Taliban? Never let that get under your skin. That's insane. It doesn't deserve any other response than laughter. Yes, no, I was recently in a media interview called the member of the Taliban. And I'm part of the Knights of Columbus, and I'm part of a few other groups, but so I just owned it. I said, yeah, get a little card. It says Taliban, you know. New member. don't deserve our seriousness because we're serious about this. Joe Poyman is serious about this. Texans are serious about this because without the right to life, we don't need any other rights. We don't need to prevent car burglars. And we've had the blessing of seeing 40 Days for Life start in College Station, Texas. That was kind of hand-delivered. And it's gone from one city in College Station to now over 1,000 cities in 65 different countries. We just added Cuba last spring, and we added South Korea this fall. And you know, we say that it's a movement of converts, but it really is. And we've seen nearly 20,000 babies saved that we know of. We've seen 112 abortion facilities close their doors, including the location in Bryan that's now our headquarters. But we've also seen now 222 abortion facility workers who have had a change of heart and left their jobs, including my friend Abby Johnson, who was my Planned Parenthood worker. And when she had a conversion in 2009 and walked right into my office before she moved to Austin and abandoned the pro-life movement, you know, her story, which I know y'all know well, and her great book, which is to me the most powerful a pro-life book. If you can give somebody one book, give them Unplanned. And I've written 4 books, so I'm not good at plugging my own books. But it's a beautiful story of family and of the heart and of the reality that our cynical world where we're like, well, we're all divided. We're so sick of hearing that. The only thing we're united on is the fact that we're divided. But we're divided on some pretty basic principles, mainly who we are as human beings and what freedom is. It's our biggest divisions. And people change. Hearts and minds, it's not a cliche to say we're going after them. That's what we're going after. And I had heard of abortion facility workers quitting. I'm from Tyler, Texas. I heard Carol Everett speak when I was in the 8th grade. I've heard the testimonies, but when it happened to me and Abby Johnson walked into my office, I'll never forget. People always ask me, what do you remember from all that? And then they made the whole story into a movie, and which is great if you haven't seen Unplanned. But I got asked that so many times, and the one scene I remember vividly until the day I die is when Abby was crying and telling me about this 13-week-old baby boy who fought for his life and lost it in front of her eyes. I'll never forget seeing the tears and her mascara covering her Planned Parenthood security card and the logo, because I had seen her swipe the card 1,000 times. And just to see that card covered in her tears, it's the story of a soul. It's what we long for. It's why you take a Saturday night to come here. It's why we go out on the street when it's hot and when it's cold. It's why you give money to Texas Alliance for Life, because we are part of a winning movement. The pro-life movement is winning at the grassroots, and we're losing on other cultural fronts, or have lost. But not abortion. Not abortion. And that is something we should be extremely proud of. And that victory is because of you at the grassroots. The abortion industry is very top-heavy, and they're very disconnected from their own employees and often from their own abortion clientele. You know, when Cecile Richards, their former CEO, got up at the DNC and was like, I had an abortion, it was no big deal. She should probably talk to the women who have had an abortion, because it's a big deal to them. That disconnect is required. It's always required for dehumanization. Disconnect is always required. And there are 56 million abortions around the world every single year. And we have simply never done this. Humanity has never done this. The world often, besides the Turks who got away with genocide, always crashes in, always comes to the aid. But abortion is legal around the world. It's supported with the funding of 93% of the governments. It is, as Lincoln feared, an internal enemy that can lead to the end of America. Not a foreign enemy, but an internal one. Because it forces us to ask and answer the question, who are we as human beings? Does our will for another give them dignity? Because we're not mutual funds. We don't get more value over time. Nobody sends out a group family text that's necessary that says, so-and-so is 12 weeks pregnant. Everybody's excited. They're really excited. Nobody texts back, hey, will you send the text again when you're 25 weeks? Because I believe that's when babies are viable. It's a weird relative. They shouldn't even be on the group text. We don't act like this with the unborn. We don't act like this with the unborn unless we want to get rid of them. All of a sudden, who your dad is matters. All of a sudden, the circumstances of your conception determines your worth. We become the most cynical, judgmental culture in the face of the planet when somebody says, I'm pregnant, I don't really want to be, and I have A, B, C circumstances. We immediately cast judgment on that unborn child. And that's not sustainable. That's why Washington is not going well. I don't think that's news for this crowd. But man, is it going well at the grassroots. It's going really well. And our great state is leading the way. And the whole time, and I'm glad Dan Patrick mentioned that this is a battle of good and evil. And it's a battle of God versus godlessness, this wave of secularism. And so we have to have faith. We have to trust that our Lord Jesus Christ will end abortion and heal our land. When Mother Teresa spoke at Harvard in 1982, she said, her famous quote, that America was a poor nation because it is a poverty that a child must die so you may live as you wish. Became a very famous bumper sticker. And she went on to say that when America repents of abortion, America will end abortion. And when America ends abortion, the world will follow. And that is happening, and it's led by our great state. It's led by Texas Alliance for Life. And we have a proven organization in our state that knows what they're doing. I know in a moment we're going to give our money to Texas Alliance for Life. If you don't plan on giving anything, shame on you. Most underestimated thing in our world today is shame. That's just like the Irish Catholic coming out. You're a bad person. Yes, I am. You don't know the half of it. The Irish are very humble people. Oh, we're not humble. What little humility we do have, we're extremely proud of. But this is the time to not only give money, but to have our own gut check. Dr. Ernst Rudin was a Lutheran doctor, and he was in Auschwitz. And over time, because he was a physician, the Nazis had him care for some of the prisoners that they wanted to keep alive, who were in bad shape. So Dr. Rudin, over time, being in that hell, he lost his faith. He was Lutheran, and he lost his faith. And then one day, a gentleman came to him, and he was nearly dead. He's left for dead. And they wanted to resuscitate him. And so he got care. He got to the front of the line, and he started talking with this gentleman. And the young man said, well, our faith in God will get us through this. And Dr. Ernst Rudin said, look around. This is Auschwitz. There is no God. God is dead. And he had allowed that to rot his heart. And that young gentleman said, Auschwitz doesn't prove that God is dead, it proves that man is depraved. And that young man was now Saint Maximilian Kolbe, who just a few days later traded his life as a priest in exchange for a family to spare them execution and give his life, a martyr. And it was Dr. Ernst Rudin who testified during his canonization that never had he ever seen someone unshaken by his environment and unwavering in his faith. And it brought Dr. Rudin back to his Lutheran faith. We need God. We need God, and that is why he has to be at the center of this work, because you can't explain abortion in human terms. It's absolutely barbaric and evil, and that's why, we laugh, but Texas is saying, if you have a heartbeat, you should be allowed to live, and the world is crashing down on us. The world is crashing down on us. And that's why, over time, our culture is as uncomfortable with abortion as ever before. And that should give us great confidence that it will end, because it requires fortitude, it requires basic common sense, it requires science, but ultimately it requires us leaning on Calvary and on Good Friday, the worst day earth has ever seen, that we still call good. That is our ultimate victory of life over death. And the last few months for sure, but the last year in our state and the last 2 years since 2019 has woken people up, a real woke, to the reality of abortion. And that should give us great hope. It should give us great joy, because we are seeing the beginning of the end of abortion, and abortion will end, and the history books are gonna look back and they're gonna look at rooms like this and people like you and gentlemen like Dr. Joe Poyman, who just kept going after 33 years of quitting his job and starting this so that no child was left defenseless in our great state. So tonight, let's enthusiastically support them. I would like to ask one person from each table to distribute those pledge cards that are in the large white envelopes. And for those of you on the live stream, you certainly can click on the link. We can't force you, you're not here, but click on the link and give. I want to ask everybody, there are so many different ways to give. You can give a political donation, you can give as a 501c3, but I want to encourage everyone to give generously, to stretch yourself. This is the exact moment to stretch yourself. We are winning, and we're on the cusp of helping other states win. So it's a very good time to be a proud Texan, and it's a good time to give money, more money than you ever have, to Texas Alliance for Life, because it goes to the front lines and it ensures that Texas gets closer to being abortion-free. So take these cards and you'll see the different options that you can give. You simply check your amount, and then on the back of the card, you can see the graphic on the screen. You can give towards the legislative efforts. Those are not tax deductible. You can give towards the PAC, which is not tax deductible. You can give to the state PAC or the Fed PAC, and you can also give to the Life Trust Fund. And the Life Trust Fund is tax deductible. And so make your checks out to Texas Alliance for Life or make your pledge. And we'll just have a moment for everyone to fill out their cards. And I thank everybody for remaining quiet and seated as we support this wonderful organization in such a critical time. If you are on the live stream, please just go to the link. You can give online. You can give one time and monthly online or on your card. Okay, as you finish filling out your cards, please give it back to your table hosts, and they will stick those in the large white envelope, and we'll have volunteers picking up those large envelopes. So be sure all the money gets put back in the large white envelope. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for inviting me back to Austin. Thank you, Dr. Poyman, for your friendship and for all that you do for life. Know that we are winning. Keep going. God bless you.